That's good, John.
You are high-tech, aren't you?
Jack is,
IT tech. He's an IT guy.
really
He's an
high-tech.
IT
he's
guy.
not just Wi-Fi guy. Okay, folks, I'd like to invite everybody to our October meeting of the Harwich Golf Committee. And just a couple of announcements quickly. As far as the meeting is concerned, we may move around the agenda to accommodate people's needs. I intend to have Roman present the rates and fees that we hope to be approved to go forward to the public hearing. And as a point of information, the public hearing is scheduled for November 12th. I hope that works for people. It was a lot of date juggling to get it, arrive at that particular date. And as usual, the hearing will adjourn, and then we will go into our special meeting to endorse rates and fees and recommend them to the selectmen. Okay? So, in order,
That's at 4 o'clock as well?
that's at 4 o'clock. I try to keep it consistent, Steve, yeah. And welcome to Roman for being here and surviving his bout with pneumonia.
Thank you so much.
Everybody's got it, or some variation of it. And in order, our consent agenda, just seeking the approval of the September minutes.
So moved.
Motion. And
Second.
second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And in lieu of the director's report, I'd like to go to our concentration on rates and fees. And Roman has a handout that everybody has in front of them. So Roman, thanks.
Can I run through a couple items real
Sure.
fast? It'll take no time, and I really kept the focus strictly to rates and fees, so I'll run through the other stuff I had really
Okay.
quickly, and then after that, we'll talk project. All right, so what's happening at the golf course? These are the events we had, the Pals for Life, Monomoy Athletic Booster, Senior Club Championship, of which we have one of the winners right here, Martha Duffy, Ladies Senior Club Champion. And Tom-
Congratulations, Martha.
And I wasn't the only one on the team.
She had competition. So then we had the Landho charity event and the D3 high school championship.
Could I ask a quick question about the Landho
Did
event?
that actually go?
Yes.
Wasn't that a rainy day?
Which one is that?
Landho?
Landho,
Landho did not. No, I'm sorry. I was thinking of the high school one. Landho did not.
and that, sadly, I know he put a lot of work into that.
Yeah, I mean, this time of year,
Yeah.
we've got so lucky. I think that's our only rain out of the year. So
Yeah, very
Not a
good.
big deal.
And you said you've got a slide on the high school?
Yeah, so real fast, this is from the First Tee Massachusetts. This is announcing the Cranberry Valley's First Tee program, so that was very nice. Wrapping up this week with a very, very successful soft opening of the First Tee program. And then this is from the Boston Herald.
Wow,
Cooper Evans wins, that's right in front of our clubhouse.
fantastic.
And the St. Mary's team wins the state championship team title.
St. Mary's, was that?
Yes.
Mhm.
I don't know, Tom. They're off Cape. I can't remember which one. It was their third consecutive, so they're a powerhouse.
Wow.
But were there any Cape towns in?
Yeah, so there were two Cape schools that were involved, Cape and Island schools, because Martha's Vineyard was involved, and Mashpee. And the gentleman that won the individual title beat one of the kids from Mashpee in a playoff on the first hole.
Wow. Good for you.
Yeah, so and I think some of the Cape kids did very well. We had a few other Cape kids that their team didn't qualify, but they qualified individually. One kid from St. John Paul played as an individual qualifier.
Quick question, Roma. As far as the hot stove is concerned, was it open for business?
Yes.
Throughout that?
Yep.
Any overall reaction to Cranberry Valley? And
Oh yeah,
And
so
the
positive,
experience.
incredibly positive.
that's great.
The MIA officials were all coming up to me just thrilled. I think it was a great showcase for the golf course,
Great.
which
Yeah.
was what we wanted.
Yeah.
They all go back to their corners of the state,
Yeah.
talking about how wonderful Cape Golf is and Cranberry Valley in particular. They were thrilled to play there. They'd love to come back. They have a rule in the MIA that each section is represented in a rotating basis, so I don't think they'll be back to our section for 4 years. But I think
Yeah.
I'm already getting the sense they'd love the request to come back.
Fabulous, fabulous.
Back to your question on hot stove. My wife and I had breakfast there yesterday morning,
Yeah.
wide open.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing going on really to speak of.
Yeah.
What time was that?
9 o'clock. Were they there at 7?
Okay,
Serve breakfast or?
Yesterday
They,
was Monday.
Did I say yesterday?
Yeah.
Monday.
I was gonna say, the tournament was there yesterday morning, it was nuts.
Yeah, it was there Monday. Today's Tuesday, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Conley. I don't know if earlier than that, if Hot Stove was busy or not.
They were quite busy with this event, and
Good.
this, he stayed open, he opened particularly for this event, and, had hot dog menus, hot dog specials just for this
Wow.
event, so
Great.
I think they did very
Yeah.
well.
Good.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I was a golf coach in a high school, urban high school in Boston for 10 years. I can't tell you my heart watching these guys. Let me tell you, the young kids, and they come from all kinds of homes and environments, but to play golf in a place like this and around, it's just wonderful. Thank you for doing that.
Tom, they were having the time of their life. You could tell as they pulled in and were talking amongst their team, but whatever they shot, they were having the time of their life. You could really tell they were
Just
embracing
absolutely
it.
wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Good. Well, thanks not just to me, but obviously the staff, the committee, the members,
Yeah.
everybody gets behind it. All right, and that's all I had there. One thing I would mention is they haven't, as far as the golf committee goes, Clem and Sean represented our committee while I was out with pneumonia at the Capital Outlay Committee, and all of our capital projects were approved. Pete Wall from the Capital Outlay Committee just mentioned they voted last Thursday night to approve all of our recommendations, so our projects are on the books, officially on the books.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank
for your
you.
Support.
Thank the committee.
Okay, so rates and fees. I provided you guys with some information here. The first page is a breakdown of very generally of a few lines from all of our competition, the other town golf courses and town memberships. Below them, I didn't do all the rates and fees because it's such a la carte menu. So I did like the top greens fee and then compared that with the twilight fee. As I did all the research, there's really a divergence this year where some of the towns are really going on a different path. Where Barnstable is fighting a lot of battles with organics, and they're really struggling with some financial issues. So they went up 10% in their membership last year. They're going up another 10% this year. They're considering extreme things like having much like double size non-member blocks at Old Barney a few times a month to make money, and so they're really in extreme financial situations. Yarmouth is still considering management companies, and so they've got some of their own things. Again, once again, that's 2.5 golf courses there. Wow. I really sat back and thought that as far as we're looking at the annual pass holders or memberships, we're unique, and I don't think we should really compare to what they're doing. We've got a good model, and again, our finances look good. We're covering our costs. I didn't see any need to follow their lead in as far as going up so extremely when we're really not seeing that demand to go up. There's nothing we're looking to cover in that regard. We're one golf course. We're trying to accommodate all of our members, 1,150 members, which is more members than Yarmouth has, about the same number of members Barnstable has. So we've got our own challenges. We've got one golf course and we're fitting a lot of golfers on it, a lot of members. So when I looked at the greens fees, I really wanted to say, as far as the off-Cape guests that come and play our golf courses, they play all the courses on the Cape, and I thought that it's very important that we're competitive in those numbers. But as far as membership goes, I thought it's smart to just look at our situation uniquely, and there's no need to chase these big numbers that are going on. So that was my initial thought, taking a look. When you see their membership numbers, you may come back to me and say that's not true, that they're going up, or they're all doing their meetings right now as we are. So Barnstable, I know, has recommended to go up another 10%, which would get them near 1,200. Wow. Yarmouth had a town meeting, a special town meeting last year to go from 750 to 1150. So they had kind of a panicky move there. Dennis, I haven't heard yet. So when you're looking at Dennis's number, that's last year's number, and Brewster, that's last year's number. I haven't heard their new numbers yet.
Any thoughts on why we're a little bit more expensive than Dennis?
Dennis has the most members by far. They have almost 1,600 members, over 1,600 members.
Okay.
So they have by far the most members, and they are, because of that, I think their finances are in good shape. They offer more specials as far as greens fees go. They've got the 2 course worth of inventory to sell, so they've got a lot of membership money coming in. And then they've got a lot of open space, because even with 1,600 members, there's still a lot of open golf course to fill. So they do 2-for-1s all fall on greens fees and things like that.
Mhm.
But they stay on they've always been on the lower side, Steve, a little bit, and
Okay.
where we've usually been next.
Yeah.
Then the next page has the history of where our rates have been. I'll tell you, one thing I previewed last month that I'm really backing off on is this idea of doing the rates and fees this year by saying setting a pattern of what we're gonna do in the future. I had a hard time justifying why we would set in stone already that we're gonna go up here and go up there, when really we don't see that need financially yet. I'd rather take it year by year. I do like the model. I may have falsely represented that we go up every other year in membership and go up every other year in greens fees. The fees you'll see on the next page show that there's no real pattern there. I just think it's a good idea to, when you're gonna go up, when you need to go up, to kind of alternate between membership and greens fees. But,
Roman,
yeah,
Just the pulse of what's going on.
yeah.
on the infrastructure fee, that has to do with those 3 separate funds that we have.
So when you see in that infrastructure fund, that's strictly the fund that was set up for the car barn, to pay the debt on the car
Pay
barn.
the debt.
And then in the future, that'll tackle other infrastructure
Okay,
issues.
so with 1,000 members, it's about $20,000 a year.
Yes, that one mechanism generates.
Yeah.
There's also greens fee money that goes into that as well.
Well, when the, in the town report, when they report the revenue from the golf course operations, it includes, they don't pull out the infrastructure, the 2 funds, the capital assessment fee and the infrastructure fund. That's just gross revenue, correct?
I believe what you're seeing there is that's been pulled out in advance, so that's
Oh, it has been
separated,
pulled
yeah. Every report that we run personally, that's been from internally, that money's all pulled out in advance.
Okay, so the 1.8 million or whatever.
1.8, we were almost 1.9 last year, that doesn't count any of the money that goes to the funds.
Oh, wow.
That money's already been pulled out. So, just see,
If I could just, but with the capital, between the capital and the infrastructure, it looks like about $115,000 or more that comes out. That takes care of the cart barn indebtedness.
yes, so far, just as
I'm using a
planned,
figure of 1,000.
just so far, just as planned, Tom, we are paying the car barn
Yeah.
debt in full.
Good.
Just as we planned to.
Good. Thank you.
Mhm. And then we hope, and off the top of my head, again, I didn't bring that spreadsheet, I think we're generating a little over 100,000 a year in that fund, and by the year 2025 or 2026, we get ahead of the debt on the car barn, and all of a sudden there's some free cash to go elsewhere to other infrastructure projects.
We could build the Harmon School in the driving range.
Let's
Sure.
talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing too, Rome, is by that point, our solar credits, et cetera, should start to kick in too and offset some of those other expenses, that are buried in budget.
Yeah, we'll see. I
Yeah.
mean, we'll see how where the reality of that comes out. One thing if you're on the second sheet that has the history of the rates, one thing that Jack mentioned to me, I have a misprint in there. The second line says Eastham, Chatham, and Orleans. Take Chatham out. Chatham's not in there. That's Eastham and Orleans. Chatham's always been considered a resident rate.
Well, we talked about a differentiator, and you mentioned that up here.
Yeah, so I'll get right into the recommendations because they're simple and you'll see them right there highlighted on that sheet. My recommendation is to increase all membership categories except junior by $20 to be directed to the Golf Improvement Fund. When we had the discussions on our capital plan, that was already part of the plan for the capital plan. That would fund every project that was approved by the Capital Outlay Committee last week. We need that money to fund those future projects. But, so the Golf Improvement Fund will generate $95 per membership per year, and which is easy math is it's around $100,000 a year.
Okay, now,
Excellent.
the collegiate membership is new.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that would be anyone who is going to college anywhere at all, as long as they have a student ID.
Yeah, so I'll get to that next. So,
And it would advantage them in the summer, for example,
right.
when they're, when they're here or on vacation.
Right.
Yeah.
you know, we tweaked our rates and fees last year. If you see on the sheet, we used to have a junior 1 and a junior 2.
Right.
The junior 1 was 9 to 17, the junior 2 was 18 to 21. We found that kind of confusing, and they had different, so we dropped the junior 2 last year. We had a little bit of pushback from specifically the college kids, and really specifically the Cape League baseball players that used to come and get that junior 2. So I looked at what the other towns are doing. The other towns are addressing the collegiate group differently. So what we're proposing, and I talked to our staff, is for a resident, and again, we consider a resident Chatham and Harwich, because we've had a lot of Chatham junior members and young members in the past. So we would require them to show a driver's license to show their age, and then also a full-time student ID to show that they're a current student.
So, if this gets approved, would you then contact the Cape Baseball League?
Yes.
To let them know?
We let them know
Yeah.
that this has been approved.
That's a good idea.
Roman, should there be on page 2 another line then for the Chatham line, because there's going to be a difference?
Yeah, so that, exactly, so, Chatham's always just been in the adult resident. I haven't added that, and one reason I didn't add that, Jack, is the $25 that's in the middle that I mentioned there for the Chatham membership, I really consider that a political issue more than a revenue issue. I really wanted to get the committee's feedback on that, and I recommend that there's some separation. We've always considered them just residents. In our computer, in our POS system, they're just residents because we've charged the same number. The one thing that I would say is, if you do consider a $25 increase, I'd put that to adult memberships only, because
I agree.
We've had all the young adult and junior memberships. I'd continue those the way they've been.
Exactly.
So the difference between Chatham adult and Harwich adult is $5.
$25. So, no, an additional
They're going up
25.
Over and above, so it's 45, okay.
Yeah.
So it's 45, okay.
And again, I'd like you guys to discuss that. I'd like to get your feedback on that. I don't feel strongly one way or another, other than I think it's a good idea. It's been a hot button topic for a long time. The people feel like there should be some separation. I think, I'll give Pete the credit. Pete kind of whispered in my ear, he thought this was a good idea a year ago probably. And I agree with it. I think a little separation would kind of calm a lot of the people that are worked up on it.
I think it sends a very positive message in a way, because the fact of reality is, the feedback from Chatham members that I've talked to is they recognize the value of this membership, and it's almost like, I'll draw the analogy, a couple of the multi-billionaires politically that I've heard have said, go ahead, tax me a bit more, I get it. And I don't know, I'd entertain other comments.
I think that's a good thing.
All things that we have done regionally between Harwich and Chatham have been designed to benefit both towns. Otherwise, why would you do it?
Yeah.
Regional high school, for example.
Right.
Both towns benefit,
Right.
both in the short and the long term. In this case, the question, okay, for us is, by offering the same rate for Chatham residents, in what way is Harwich benefiting?
Yeah,
We don't.
We don't.
well, up
That's-
to this
That
point.
to me is,
Yeah.
unless I'm missing something here.
The other thing I'd offer is, I don't think there's any commensurate consideration in
Reciprocation.
the Chatham
That's
fees
correct.
Exactly.
for us,
Exactly,
for
yeah.
Howard
Yeah.
residents.
That's
Right,
nothing.
If you want a clamming license or
Right.
anything like that, you're a non-resident, you're not
Right.
a Chatham Howard resident.
They do recognize Harwich members as residents on their golf course, which is, it's a hard comparison to compare the two.
Yeah.
I did, just to cover our bases, I reached out to their golf committee just to see, because I wanted to do research to see if there was a formal agreement, because their membership form actually says that there's a reciprocal agreement. And I reached out to their, I think it's their Recs and Parks director, and he said it was just informal. They now have a management company running their golf course that can set its own rates, he said. So there's no problem there as far as reciprocating at golf, but that's the only one I really looked at was golf.
Has anyone ever asked the town administration of Chatham for any
In the
reciprocity?
golf committee we did
There
some years ago.
were numerous outreaches. And basically, I think Pete had testified to this, everything hit a dead end. I mean, they just, I don't want to say they were smug about it, but they just, no thank you.
When
And
I
that was-
I
first,
mean,
That
do
was
we may not have time, but before we potentially impose an incremental fee on them, is it worthwhile to go back and at least ask the question again? And if they immediately come back and say, no, and/or, geez, we're gonna need to take it to town meeting and it's gonna be 10 months before we'll know, then we do it. But at least to give them the opportunity to offer something in return for treating their residents the same as the Harwich residents before we impose a fee. I'm just throwing it out there for discussion.
Yeah,
Tom?
the history it was probably about 10 years ago, and there were 4 of us here, and it came up, and two no's, so it failed. And so I walked out of the building, and I saw 2 selectmen. I explained that the vote to bring in Chatham. They were at the time looking at the Monomoy School and the sewers,
Sure.
and I said it failed. So they went and that night they voted 5-0 to have it. And successive years after that, Peter would talk to us, and I would agree with him, and we would have a couple of years we're not gonna do that. They said, no, we are gonna do that. So, you know, if you wanna fight that battle to this, I think it's gone, there's nothing we can do about it. The one thing though about reciprocity is that they said you can use the golf course. I think they limited it to 25 people, which is absolutely silly. I mean, maybe somebody on the Chatham Selectmen will get a conscience about the shellfish permits or something to show that there is some connection here. But, you know, it's a done deal as far as I'm concerned.
Pete?
Clint, just to repeat, what I've been saying for years is Chatham is paying the same rate we are.
Right.
But we are paying for the debts in our taxes every year. They are not paying that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They had an advantage to us.
Right.
And I thought, I don't want to get into the minutiae, is it
Yeah.
$5 or $25? It is something. That's all the point I want
It's-
to make.
At the time, not to go too far back into the weeds, but Angela Lamantia
Yeah.
did the math, $23.77,
Yeah, yeah.
if you want to get into the tax nuances.
No,
I think,
It's time to be gracious about it,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
It's done, nothing we can do about it. You know, we got a great course, we got a great program, we get great people running the place, you know.
Are we giving in, or are we doing this with good conscience, coming up with a position?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, we know it's not gonna pass, so say, let's just give up on it. No, does the golf committee believe in its good conscience, okay, that we're not getting apples to apples benefits, and
Right.
therefore we still hold the position that we should have a differentiation of some sort, call it X, between the adult residents in Chatham and Harwich?
Let's call it a social debt and figure out how they're gonna pay it. I mean, it's
Well,
gotta be placed
yeah.
out there in the political arena, because it's political at this point.
Yeah.
And
But
we,
I don't-
by the way, don't have the authority anymore to do much other than make recommendations.
well, we can make the
make
recommendation,
Make a recommendation.
but
But you can make it put it part of the record, there's a social debt that's owed to the taxpayers, however it's paid.
when I presented our budget last year, I think you were there, Clem, at the finance committee, joint meeting of the finance committee and the selectmen. This became the big topic once I presented the budget. There was 20 minutes to talk about this, and the selectmen basically told me this is to be decided on the golf committee level, and then come back to us with a recommendation.
that's why I think the sentiment is there for an adjustment. Pure and simple, because it's not debilitating to the point where someone's going to look at $25 and say,
Right.
especially when they're looking at the non-resident membership that we offer and the value, which is still a good value at that particular number. This makes inordinate sense.
One idea I'd add to the mix is, because we're recommending going up $20, and then for them it'd be $45, I don't know if there's a consideration to say, do the Chatham thing next year when we're not gonna touch the membership. That's an idea, but, I don't think $45 is
I
enough.
believe it,
I think you ought to do it.
Yeah,
Jack?
and unless, again, we could get some sort of reciprocity, and it sounds like that's a path that's already been taken and refused, I think we should do it immediately.
I do too.
Agreed.
Well, based on the discussion, unless there are any new information to share, I'd ask for a motion to accept the rates and fees as recommended by the Director of Golf.
So moved.
Second.
I have an amendment to that, and to put it in infrastructure. So infrastructure has Harwich and also Chatham. And you add that 25 to the infrastructure. So it's pretty clear what we're doing with the money. It's going to the operation, improved operation of the club, period.
So, that's a good idea, Tom. We've got the different funds. I may think that that's smarter to put that in the golf improvement fund, which
Whatever.
takes
Whatever.
care of the green grass of the
Yeah.
golf course.
Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, why even,
Yeah.
why even tie yourself to anything
Right.
specific? Give Roman the ability to use it as best he needs to,
Well,
but just
We've
make
got
it part
we've
of their
got that big-
membership.
We've
But
got
if
that
it
big
isn't in
capital
a fund,
plan.
he's gonna lose control of it.
Oh,
If it goes
really?
into if it goes into
Oh,
the,
okay.
Exactly.
We just got
Exactly.
they approved
Okay.
our
That's
capital
good.
plan
Thank you.
for the next 7
What a
years.
target.
What?
To put this money towards the projects in the capital plan, I think is smart,
Yes.
so that'd be
Yeah.
golf
Yeah.
improvement fund.
Yep. Cool.
Okay, so with that amendment in mind,
Yep.
okay?
Good.
Any other discussion?
Roman, when you were here last time, you were talking about increasing the card fees. It doesn't look like you've gone forward with that.
No, so what I was thinking, Jack, and my thinking last time was to present the idea of an every other year plan. So I think greens fees and car fees would be something we look at next year if we need to generate more revenue, but not this year, no.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We usually like to alternate years between those.
Pete?
Clint, I'm sitting here listening, but no one has said the rates. You're all referring to the second sheet there. I think in fairness to the public, you should say what the new rates are for Harwich, Chatham, et cetera.
Good, I'll mention them.
Yeah, Chatham, will be 835 based on what we talked.
How much?
835.
835.
835?
Yeah.
Harwich would be up to 810.
25 increase.
Yeah, well, I see what you mean. That's where the 25's going, yeah,
Right.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Harwich is
You're
810?
gonna
Yeah.
break that out then, non-resident?
Yep, so I'll have to create a new line that we just created here. And then, non-resident, so non-resident is a resident of neither Chatham, Harwich, Eastham, or Orleans.
What's Orleans and Eastham?
Eastham, Orleans would be 910, Peter.
910. Yeah.
Why the differentiation between Chatham and Orleans and Eastham?
It comes
Eastham
with
and
the whole
Orleans,
school
this-
thing.
They had no golf
This has been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
This was an effort to raise our membership years before I started, was to engage them because they don't have a municipal golf course in those
Yeah.
towns. So we wouldn't be stealing from a town that had a town-owned golf course.
Okay.
And when you get into actually the boundaries of the towns, there was some legitimate interest, from people in Orleans, and especially in Eastham, because
But,
they
but
regard
if they're
themselves.
non-residents, why don't we just have a resident fee and a fee for people that aren't residents of Harwich?
There was an effort
Why
to
does
engage them.
Chatham get a discount over the people from Orleans and Eastham?
Because as John alluded to, our association, both with our municipal projects and the school in particular, that's how that evolved.
But it's done now.
It's not logical.
It's done now.
Right.
And to be perfectly frank, we got the short end of the stick as far
We
as,
always felt
as
that.
far as I'm concerned in the numbers I've looked at. So we don't care anymore. I mean, they're not residents of Harwich. Why are we treating them any differently
The
than?
selectmen will not agree on that, but they will.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I've always, I think that we've worked really hard to raise that number because it's really raising the participation in the golf course. I think we're up to 160 Chatham members. I think they're very important. Jack's mentioning all-time highs in sweeps numbers, and I mean, we try to get a lot of participation. They're very active members, so I always think my job is to increase participation, so we've engaged them to increase participation. If they were taken out of the mix for residency and
I think,
told they had to pay the non-resident rate,
I
we'd
think
lose a lot of
a year out, it might make sense in the interim to look at it, potentially. In other words, find out how many Orleans, how many Eastham members, et cetera, we have
Mhm.
at present. But I think just making this, just moving to that Chatham membership fee, one step at a time, I'd rather see that without controversy or, opening Pandora's box.
Yeah, and also, but Angelo had pointed out that when we talked about this, that the debt on, the big debt was
Yeah.
up this year, up this year. So
Yeah.
the number that he had assigned to this
Yeah.
was up this year, right? So this is really kind of like this is a way of saying there is a difference, and thank you for your participation. It's not
Exactly,
going up very much,
exactly.
and it's gonna be targeted for the improvements that you will enjoy as a member, period.
Exactly,
And the
exactly.
reason about the other towns, because this thing did not develop systematically. It developed with a need, and we need at the time to get more members in.
Mhm.
And so there's no golf course there in these other two towns.
Mm-hmm.
So
Understood.
that's
Okay.
why that was.
Yep. Okay, so we've got a,
Yep.
We got a motion.
we got a motion on the floor. Any other discussion?
Just-
Can we restate the motion, please?
To approve as recommended, the rates and fees as proposed by the Director of Golf with the increase of the charter membership to be dedicated to the Golf Improvement Fund.
Line item, right.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
And we'll tweak that wording to make it
Yep.
work.
I second.
And we've got a second. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay, perfect. It's unanimous. Pete?
Another subject I wanted to add.
Yeah.
What we've done with Eastham and Harwich is not original. When captains built their course in the
True.
80s,
That was another good point.
they invited anybody to come from Orleans and join.
Yeah.
And I know a guy that he's almost 90, and he has belonged there for 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
So it's not unusual precedent for what we've done.
You know,
Yeah.
looking at these figures too, it's interesting, Roman, that if we look at this closely at the end of next year, those rates going up in towns like Barnstable,
Oh, yeah.
et cetera, for the same amount of money, I think you might see a migration of some of those people
Right.
potentially to our non-resident.
Yeah, our non-resident rate is gonna be less than their resident rates in some
Yeah.
places.
Exactly. And I mean, when you, it's such a good deal. Well, Roman, thanks for all the hard work.
You're welcome.
And it used to be so simple where you could just compare apples and oranges, I mean, town by town, but to your point, these towns are moving in different directions. I'm glad we are where we are.
Yeah.
So, now, this gives us an opportunity to revisit our old business, basically the capital project underway. And just as a personal note, this goes back 2 weeks ago. The town administrator, for the record, I feel just did an outstanding job in tracking and ensuring that all the contracts with CVEC, which was the broker for our solar deal, have been signed, sealed, and delivered. There was some discussion on that point, which the politics, we don't have to get into, but I'm just glad that he got that across the finish line for us. So, Roman?
Okay, first, just put this slide in first. We took a lot of the recommendations here at the golf committee and from our staff.
And that's the
If
last
you look at the last
page.
page, and this is the edited design of the front of the building. It adds 8 new parking places where there was just a large island that was landscaped. So it makes that island a little smaller. We had the town engineer work on this as well. They felt the requirement to maintain green spaces in the parking lot, so we're reaching the minimum required green spaces there. But we also, if you see the big island in front of the clubhouse, we also shifted that and operationally decided that was a much better kart staging area than what we had originally designed. So we're going to see the island shifting a little bit more to the south to allow us a nice large kart staging area. But a lot of the feedback from the committee here went into this redesign, and love some feedback. This is not set in stone yet. I'm meeting with the town administrator on Monday to move ahead with the procurement issues involved in this.
John?
At last week's Men's Golf Association, he got up and he announced this with the extra spaces.
Yep.
You could almost feel it in the room. Great.
Yeah.
So-
But-
No, it's funny. The
lot of
one thing I
people
mentioned to
are
everybody, you guys play a lot of golf, so you're there a lot. Wednesday is the sweeps day. Is the one day that parking lot gets stressed the most. Where we see more play on Saturdays and Fridays, there's much less stress on the parking lot just because sweeps day is such an individual driver, no carpooling day. So yeah, I think the sweeps group will be the ones that are most recognizing of this.
I mean, you could just hear it and you could feel it in the room.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll just speak for myself.
You didn't get this in depth of detail. You didn't have this?
He didn't.
No, he didn't have
Yeah,
this. no.
yeah, okay, good. What do you think, Jack? I mean,
Yeah, I think
this is
great.
consistent with, I think, the sentiments you expressed.
And are you it looks like you're increasing the number of parking lots for the hot stove too, Roman?
Yeah, so that's.
It doesn't seem like he has that many over.
No, so we're gonna build 3 or 4 more spaces, well, whatever, that slope there is a little tricky, so we're gonna get between 3 or 4 more spaces on that side there. Those we would mark as hot stove, these new ones, 8 created, we would just keep open to general, because, you know, it's funny, there's a lot of people that mention that we should have more dedicated to hot stove. If you ever come out after 1 o'clock or so in the day, those hot stove spots are empty, and I hate to see our golfers not parking as close as their golfers are parking at the end, so I wouldn't put any designation on those new 8 spots.
Also, Roman, it looks like, correct me if you will, but this plan suggests to me that you should have additional room and spacing for staging carts, perhaps.
Yeah, so we really like the staging area that's on the north side of the island, where you'll see us staging a lot of our larger groups. So this design doubles that size. Of course, before we had a lot of flexibility with the hardscaped areas around the island. We really wanted to have one large area in particular where we could stage large groups and have it right near the bag drop. So you'll see when people pull up to the bag drop, they're immediately going to be right near the staging area for the carts, which makes it easy on our staff, makes it easy on golfers.
Okay, so get me totally excited here. What's the bottom line in terms of timetable? Because I think this finishing touch, especially the pedestrian walkway and the landscaping, is really going to, you know, it'll be the icing on the cake.
Yeah, I do too. So the timetable is Monday. I'd move forward with this, taking it to our procurement team. Well, we do a lot of that work in-house, but the retaining wall you see on that one first smaller island and the hardscaping would have to go out to bid. So
Okay.
we'd be looking at a bid package to do the hardscaping and the retaining wall.
So
And then the rest-
bid package and then the
And then-
interval possibly starting in November?
I'd love to, but I think that's a little bit too aggressive. I don't know how these bid packages go out.
Okay.
As soon as we get the approval of the town administrator on this plan next Monday, when we meet, Sean can get going on the landscaping side of it, and we can clear up what's been a real eyesore this year, which is the old cart barns graveyard. I think to say that this could be easily completed for the start of next year would be our goal.
Great.
Roman, just a question. You talked about the staging area. Right now, you stage carts on the left-hand side of that island in the middle.
Right.
Are you gonna continue to stage them
So we
there?
still would, so right now, we loosely do them around that curve.
Can you show 'em?
Yep, no.
Stand up.
The mouse, oh, here's.
Oh, yeah.
Right here.
That's where you stage them
We
now.
stage some carts there, but where we stage the large groups, Jack, is all in here.
Right.
That would be,
correct, yeah.
that's would be our primary staging area, and the proximity to the bag drop right here. So here's the first bag rack, here's where the carts would be all in this area, so that'd be really easy. Operationally, by having a year before, I keep telling Clem, there's some benefits to having the stuff delayed, and one of them is we got to operate for a year and see something new, that this would be a much more functional area for a large cart staging. We could stage almost our whole fleet of carts in that one area.
With
So
this approved, et cetera, Roman, I noticed, maybe I missed it, it may be there, but will this allow us then to put some directional arrows in place, that might help people navigate as far as where to turn? I mean, not that you can't read the signs, but,
right here, there's a big marker there for a sign, so we'd have a nice large sign there saying, welcome to Cranberry Valley Bag Drop. All these planters that are mobile here, they have to be mobile for fire and
Yeah,
rescue
exactly.
vehicles. Are available for signage. We currently have a sign that says bag drop this way. And we could do anything we wanted. Are you talking about painting on the pavement?
yeah, I was just thinking possibly, or, I wondered that there might be some legal implications as far as you know, when you paint, I know municipally, when you paint lines, there's certain conformal parameters that you have to establish as far as the distance between and all that business. It gets complicated. I just wondered. You know, primarily as a safety issue.
Okay, well, that wasn't part of this plan, but we can easily address, you know, whatever we think we need to. I like your feedback. I think people in general this year got a good sense from we've had really simple $16 signs this year that are highway design signs. I mean, they couldn't have been more basic, saying this way for parking, this way for bag drop. And I think there was a lot of informed customers. I think people knew where to go.
The other thing, on the left-hand side, on the curve,
Yeah.
by moving of the staging area over to the other side, I would think that would free up more space for people driving into those parking spaces, which would make it a safer environment.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I think, you know, people would want to know that, I would think, as we
That
communicate.
was mentioned. That was one of the benefits. Yeah.
Good, okay, great.
Because we do have, as you guys know that play a lot of golf, we do have a lot of delivery trucks that come in down here
Yeah.
and then back up all the way up here to get to the hot stove. So that area can be a little dangerous. So we would keep carts away from that area
Good.
and keep people away from that area as much as we can. One of the aspects of this area, this design I really like, is to funnel the people out of the traffic. You know,
Exactly.
Yeah.
funnel people through there,
That's
then
very
through here. Get them out of the traffic where the trucks are and where the walking into the cars.
So the dotted line is the current area, and this
Yes.
is what you're proposing?
Yes.
Just a point too, being the guy that's not always up there. It's probably matter of fact to everybody, but I thought this was pretty sensational. I told Roman, I'm driving up the other day, and my phone was actually on for once, not off. And I heard the bing, welcome to Cranberry Valley. Have you guys experienced that?
Oh, yeah.
Seeing, you take it for granted, but, you know, maybe that's an opportunity, when you get that prompt, welcome to Cranberry Valley, proceed to the bag drop. Just meaning that, you know, people that shortcut into the parking lot at the first place you can turn into, it might be better traffic flow.
How are you getting that?
They know when you finish
On the
it
app,
off.
if you have your app open.
Yeah,
If you have the app.
It comes right on. Thank you for playing a
Yeah.
Cranberry
And the noise is
Valley.
wonderful.
Hope
It's the
you have
sound of a
great
drive.
day.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
I go, wow, that's really cool.
I thought that was pretty,
And then Clem, you get it when you drive off 18 saying it comes to the hot stove.
yeah,
Let's go.
yeah.
You
I
don't have
want
it, John?
I'm using something else, okay?
John, come on, get with it.
Obviously, I'm obviously
Talk to
not-
Jack, he's the tech guy.
You gotta turn on notifications if you have the app. I don't wanna send anybody, I don't wanna send anybody into panic because we rely so heavily on the Chelsea system, but as you're talking about, you know, future of pulling into the golf course, we're getting demos from other companies that have systems much more modern than Chelsea and that do the same point type systems. And the golf business in general is turning into, say, Martha, you booked a tee time at Cranberry Valley and you weren't a member. We'd encourage you when you book the tee time, you get a message back, please download our app. When you download the app, you would have an opportunity to set up a profile with a credit card number in it, which obviously nobody likes to do. But when you pull into the parking lot, it would say, welcome Martha to Cranberry Valley. Would you like to check in for your round now? Would you like to purchase a cart? And you do it, you don't ever enter the pro shop. You check in for golf,
That's
you purchase a
nice.
cart, and you go to the first tee, you go to the starter house.
Wow.
So that's happening in some of the
Yeah.
fancier resorts
Those guys
currently.
think it's a big
We're getting
thing.
demos on some of
Younger
that.
people
We're-
would say, onward. I'm just thinking the people on the sweeps would say, big brother looking over the shoulder.
Yeah.
I think the younger people
Pick
would
me
say,
up and
onward,
take-
give me more, give me more.
Well,
Pick me
you,
up,
I
take
mean,
me to
you
the
can
tee.
pay for your cart while you're sitting in your car, and then you just go right to the cart.
Cool.
And then the starter has the iPad that shows the cart was paid.
You just gotta watch about the mass privacy laws if you start collecting
Yeah.
credit card information.
Yeah. No, I
Oh,
know.
yeah.
I know.
Roman, during the busy time in the summer, is there gonna be like a transportation cart that picks
Yes.
people up? There is.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I used to play ASU Cosden, and Arizona State University was right on the visit. And as you'd pull up, there was a guy with the golf hat, and the plus fours.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he would greet you, and then the cart would follow you down, and then make sure you get on, and we're gonna do that?
I don't know about the plus fours, but
Wonderful plus
we
fours.
did have a shuttle cart going all
And the
summer at busy
two-tone
times.
shoes, two-tone shoes.
Since we got the diagram up there too, Roman, you might speak to, because I know it's right on the cusp of coming to fruition, the return route off of 18.
Yep. All right, I'll speak to that. So that route has been opened. and it's not, we haven't really been driving any traffic there because it's rough. Right when we got it opened, we had the native stone put down on the path, and it's ready to be used. It's still a little rough for my taste to direct people there. Then we had the 2 nor'easters, and there's a lot, it kind of opened my eyes to, there's a lot of scrub pines back there that are not in great shape. That path got trashed with leaves and branches, and so I think a major cleanup needs to happen, and a major
Okay.
thinning in there
Yeah.
has to happen
I just
before we
want-
start directing our traffic, because I'm really, when we started talking about that, we were really conscious of the fact that that's gonna be the exit experience for our customers. I'd hate to have it less than perfect, so.
Fine.
And right now, I've driven it a number of times. It's ready to be used. It's easy to get to the parking lot. It doesn't show our best side, so
Right.
I'd rather do a little
Yeah.
work on it before we start directing people there.
Excellent. Okay,
All right, I'll tackle broader topics here with the next slide. Okay, so as far as the electric goes, this was big, and I know, I mentioned before, some things have taken such a long time with this project. We are officially back on budget with this project based on the electrical upgrade that we need to happen, excuse me. The town administrator negotiated a settlement with Eversource for the electrical upgrade requirement, and there's the specs on the new transformer they're requiring. It's not to exceed $50,000, and we need to pay for the pad, that's it. So the whole, $250,000 or $300,000 upgrade they were requiring us, they backed off of that. So we came up with a
interesting, huh,
line of,
Steve?
we came up with a line of demarcation where it's the town's responsibility to take the power from Oak Street to the pump house, which is gonna cost us $50,000, this new transformer, this new pad. And then the solar vendor is to take it from there and bring it to the 2 solar projects. And so one thing this is really good, the one thing that I'm working on right now is we've lost a little control on that side because that's on their side of things, it's on their timetable. And as you guys know, we're looking at carts for next year as our serious concern. So I'm trying right now to get a timetable from them and really push them. We're pushing our side of it. Eversource is requiring, you got to do every step with them. They're requiring a whole new work order for this transformer. So we're submitting the work order ASAP for this new transformer and having a site meeting. We'll get our side of the stuff done. The money's there in the budget. So for the first time, we can afford our side of the upgrade. We got to push the Green Skies to do their side and get their timetable to see where we stand with cards for next year.
Speaking of CVAC, too, just as a point of information for everybody, I personally talked to Leo Kakunis, who is a resident of the town of Harwich, and chairs CVAC. I said, Leo, I want you to know that your efforts on our behalf are appreciated. And the point is, it's kind of like having an inside guy. I mean, he's a Harwich guy, and he's very vocal when it comes to town meeting, et cetera, and I think it's great having that kind of leverage. I'd like to think it had something to do with, along with Liz Zardo, who has been shepherding this project.
She's been the
She
project
was-
manager on their side.
Yeah, very, very helpful. So you're now in discussion with Green Skies?
So now the next step is a power purchase agreement needs to be signed by the town administrator, and that's been waiting on this electrical hurdle to be covered. So we're going to meet with them to negotiate the power purchase agreement, and then the timeline. Those are the 2 big things.
Roman, how are you paying for these solar panels? Is
So-
that a lease or is that a purchase?
Yeah, so we're not buying them. The agreement is it's a lease. It's a lease
It's a lease.
agreement. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And are you getting the electrical at a certain rate?
that's
Based on
that's
that
part of
lease?
this power purchase agreement that's going to be negotiated. In general, Jack, and I know it's much more complicated, but in general, the idea of this whole agreement was we're going to get next to no electric bill for the next 25 years and without any investment. So,
And-
there-
Is that right?
yeah.
Yeah.
When they did it for residential, I mean, if you leased it, you typically got a 12 cents a kilowatt rate.
That's all what they're negotiating. They're negotiating the rate, but it's going to be a net meter. So we earn the credits and then we spend the credits when we use our electricity. The electricity we spend on our property is at a different rate than, or I guess the 2 solar fields, if I remember right, the solar field itself is dedicated to the maintenance staff and the pump house and things like that. So that's all at a certain rate that's more beneficial to us if we utilize that power. And then the cart barn as well. When it's a net meter, which it has to be because the field is generating electricity during the day when the carts are out of the cart barn. So we need that net meter agreement. So I'll add more information on that next. That's the next step is the power
And
purchase
to that
agreement.
point, or John, would you like to go next? I was just going to say to that point, as far as energy is concerned, not to be forgotten is the fact that this will mitigate, and this is lowball, the 25,000 plus that we spend on fossil fuel resources. You know, gas in particular, that will go away.
How will it go away?
Roman still got
Well,
gas, right?
if
If we go with
you're
electric
powering
car.
carts,
Unless you're
Oh, you
carts.
mean gasoline, not
yeah, the gasoline.
propane?
Oh, no.
Gasoline carts.
No. John?
Question
please.
for you, Roman, okay, is when do you want to restart or work with you, okay, on the carts?
Yeah, so let's discuss that. I'm meeting with the town administrator on Monday, and I'm hoping to push these conversations forward because this agreement just happened. So what I want to find out first, I think, is going to be critical, is finding out their timeline.
Okay.
If we can accelerate their timeline, because they loosely said they would be doing their work in the spring, which does not work for us. So I think they were thinking our job would take longer. We're going to expedite our side of things and let them know our timetable and how important it is for us to have that power connection. That conversation hasn't happened yet, though.
Well, when you know, okay, just let us know.
I'll let you know.
Okay, then we'll restart with
Yeah,
you.
good.
Okay.
John, Tom?
Is the 50K from, you said the town's budget or our budget?
That's the project budget, the approved
Out of the
project
pro-
budget.
Yeah,
Our
yeah.
funds.
Yeah.
And if you go back,
Okay.
what we had designated, that falls into that
Oh,
slot,
sure, no.
thankfully.
Yeah, that's part of the 1.2 million that
Good
was
job.
approved for the project.
Good job.
That was the town administrator did some great negotiating.
Yeah.
Legal was involved in it. It took forever, and what's funny is I'm sure I haven't heard the specifics of this yet, but I'm sure that they backed off. They're not going to pay to upgrade our whole infrastructure. They backed off their requirement to dig it all up and to
Right.
put it, encase it all in concrete and conduit.
And the CEO has a house here.
Yeah.
Coincidence.
Yes.
Great.
Okay, so
Steve?
all right, so I already covered this. Native stone path from 18 is open, but it needs cleanup. The landscape plan edited to include 8 new parking places and new expanded cart staging. Currently in the hands of our procurement team is the fuel pad and tank install and the charger grid. So that I'm still pushing those forward. Those are all in the hands of our procurement team to go out to bid. And then we're gonna hopefully on Monday's meeting, when I present this plan to our procurement team and the town administrator, this will be included in that.
You know, going back to the pad and tank install,
Mm-hmm.
am I correct, Roman? That's been in the procurement phase for approval. This has got to be 2 or 3 months.
It's been, I don't know for sure, it's been a while. We haven't been ready necessarily, it hasn't been a big priority. It's not stopping us from doing anything, operating anyway.
yeah.
But yeah, things are slow procurement wise. We are sending a member of our team to procurement training with the rest of the town staff who have been going to procurement training. Sean Fernandez is going on next Wednesday, along with our town engineer who's part of our prudent procurement team and some other people in town. So yeah, procurement's a big issue, that everything's really slow and tedious with that right now.
Roman, if you can't get it done by April, will you redo the lease?
What I'm thinking, Jack, I haven't gone there yet, and that'd be the easiest thing in the world to do. These carts are showing their age, though. I mean, it'd be the easiest thing in the world to do that. That's why we have that 1 year. So that'd be so easy to do. We have good favorable terms. The carts really have started to show their age. So I would want to look at all options before we decide to do that. To maybe, the problem is 1 year leases are not very common, and you don't get favorable terms on them. The reason we did on this one is we already had the carts and they were already 5 years old. So I'm not ready to act one way or the other on that. I wouldn't be. It'd be really the easiest thing, like I said, to sign up for 1 more year. I'm hoping we could get more creative. And I think if I look back on the bids we had last year, one of the companies offered a lease where they send us gas carts, and then when we're ready to switch them out for electric, they would switch them out for us.
That's the
That's
answer.
something that's fairly creative that we could do.
When-
Flex, a flex.
Where on that is the wiring for the cart barn.
So that's in there,
That's a
that,
fairly
we call that the
significant-
charger grid, so that's in there, that's in the procurement team's hands to go out to bid. It's just going slowly, but I've given them all the information to put out the bid on that.
The charger grid includes the purchase of the actual physical plug-in things that go on, and plus the installation.
All the out, no, so that'd be all the really important thing about that, John, is the measurements, that they measure it down to the inch.
Yep,
They plan the whole car barn down to the inch, hang them at exactly the right height,
yep,
and then, that's the arms and the outlets, not the chargers themselves. The chargers will come with the cards.
okay, great.
What's the time threshold on the Flex? The outfit that would give us the gas cards and then switch over as soon as we're ready? Well, when do you have to make a decision with them in order for them to give us the best rate we can?
I haven't gone down that road yet since last year when we were doing this. Well, I was surprised to see that most of the car companies need 60 days or less. I mean, they're pretty much ready to go with their car fleet. So we're not under any time crunch now with that. But I do think it's important right now that we find out what our possibilities are for having electric power to start next season, because that would put us back to where we're looking for a 3 or 5 year lease for electric fleet, which would be the ultimate.
Excuse me, John, thinking ahead too, you might be on the same page or same thought as mine. Prior to our breakup for the winter and so on, I think it'd be important for us to at least get some tacit approvals that are flexible enough so that he could act and, you know, things could move ahead.
With respect to what?
Well, if
For
he's in
example.
negotiation, let's say in January, February, and we're not meeting, I don't know, just a thought.
I mean, I think that if we have some general idea, if we're on the same page with what we want to do, I think it's important that when I do present leases to the selectmen, that I can say that the golf committee supports,
Right.
it is in support.
I mean, we could do that in advance, could we not?
We could do that in advance, okay, but the one point I want to make is that when we put together the initial set of specifications
Yep.
for what we consider to be a satisfactory solution, I wouldn't want the fact that they can convert, a vendor will agree to convert from gas to electric being the sole decision maker.
No.
Because we maybe end up with great solution but with the suboptimal technology.
Right.
That's the
Exactly.
best way I can say it.
So Jack, one thing that I was considering too, because I agree totally, we want the cart we want, and
Yeah.
and not the fact that no flexibility, we want to be able to choose the cart we
That's my
want.
point. That's my
I
point.
agree totally. There's another option where, you know, these carts are old, they're showing their age. We could scrap the current lease and ask if they'd go month to month, and so we could see if we could go month to month with them,
Yeah.
and do the transfer in July, June. I mean, that's not optimal, but there's another option there, because,
Can you power the carts without solar?
yes, if we can power the carts without solar. This all depends on making the connection, the 3-phase connection to the cart
Yeah.
barn.
But is this, excuse me, is this solution the one that would allow us to do it before we do the solar?
So, really, this is what I have to find out from the solar vendor, because I don't know where it fits in their plans. I think we gotta see what kind of leverage we have to have them put their first priority being connecting the
The
cart barn
three-phase.
with power.
Right, exactly.
Where that's not a priority for them. Their priority is to get the field built, and which would take some time. So we'll have to see what kind of leverage we have to have them do their first act, do the connection.
That would give us options.
Yeah, then we'd be ready to go. If we can get a timetable when they would be able to do
Right.
the connection, and we get the timetable when our connection is
Right.
made as well, we'll know if we can or support electric cars to start next season.
Well, that sounds great. Is anyone a BJ's member here?
Yes.
I'm not, but I got past security. I walked in like I was a member. And the point is, I saw an array of security cameras over time. Boy, if those things come down in price, I mean, it was amazing. That may be something that works in our benefit.
Oh, yeah.
Because I saw that you've got that.
$100.
Huh?
Yeah.
You can get security cameras for under
Yeah,
$100.
I mean, that's gonna be terrific. Well, I think that covers everything. I can't think of any other loose ends there. Jack, please?
I have a question or a suggestion on it.
Yeah.
One of the questions that came up at the men's meeting was, the capital plan. No one's aware of it. I think it would be useful to send it out to the membership as far as what the capital plans are for the next, I
5
don't know,
years.
you got 5 years or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Just so they're aware,
Yeah.
because I think people are hearing it in dribs and drabs in other forums or other avenues. And in a sense, the membership, not whether it's the men's club or the
Right.
membership as a whole, is really contributing to that activity, for that activity to go forward. So I think it would be extremely valuable to say, here's what we're gonna do with the money you're contributing.
Great
I
point.
mean, and another thing is, I mean, you may even wanna consider, are there a survey where you ask, you know, I mean, that can be good and bad news, but since it's the membership's money that you're using to do this, whether you wanna involve them in the process.
Well, one thing, Jack, I can't remember if I mentioned this when we were talking about the capital projects. Well, we've pushed back the Forward T initiative that was signed by Mark Mundrum. And one of the reasons is I wanted to really engage the members to say, you know, really, the main group we're looking at there is the ladies group. That our work with the USGA and the data loggers showed our ladies are playing a much too difficult long golf course. And also with the aging membership, I mean, I think the tee options would be good. I don't feel comfortable myself or even as a committee saying they need more tees. I want to hear from the members that they want new tees.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I think
so
it would be great
I
if we-
definitely want to engage the members and get a group of members from the ladies, from the men, to read over the whole Forward Tee plan, see exactly what it is, and then see if they'd support it, see if
That was
they want
very
it.
informative,
Yeah.
Roman. I think the women should be exposed to that
Yeah,
presentation. I really
Okay.
do.
good.
Well, maybe we could put a
Because we're
pilot,
very concerned about the slope and, of our course.
Yeah, I agree. I think
Jack,
so
to the
too.
point you just made, maybe we can just, we'll put together a pilot document, you know, with a simple survey that people can respond to. If it's too complicated, you know, you end up with data all over the place.
I was saying, here's what we want, what would your priority be
Yeah.
for getting this thing done?
And Jack, and the advantage of using the money from the golfers who use the course is that money's not in competition with sewers or anything else.
Right.
You know, it's
Schools.
self-funding, yeah.
I think that one way we could do this is, you know, we're about to hit the winter, I could easily send out to the members in an email the capital plan, and then we could even do a one year a month highlight. This is, you know, this is more detail about it. I would be cautious, as you mentioned, about a survey, because then people really feel the ownership of, I want this, but I don't want this.
Yeah.
Hey, I said I didn't want that, and
Yeah.
we're already down the road with a lot of the projects that we're looking at, so.
And that's why we have a committee.
Just tell them what you have planned, Roman.
Well, I think with the forward tees, I think we should definitely, I do plan to engage the members to say, before we spend one more cent on this, please read through the whole program and see if you support it, and share it with the members and have a meeting, and, you know, that's not gonna happen for 3 or 4 years, so there's a lot of time to engage members and say, do you support this? Because that's a 2-year, $250,000 plan. I would not be comfortable recommending it without the members saying they want it.
Well, certainly, and, you know, if we put the plan out there, or put a link to the plan or whatever in an email,
Yeah.
I would also suggest that we tell them that the plan's out there to look at it, and if they have interest, invite them to the meetings.
Yeah.
These are public meetings.
Yeah.
If they have strong feelings, particularly after they've seen it,
I have a meeting.
they can come and,
Have
yeah,
a meeting at the golf course too.
yeah,
You can do it.
exactly.
Okay. Public comment? Mr. Wall?
I'll set things.
Okay. Without any other further business to bring before the committee, motion to adjourn?
So,
All in favor? Aye.
aye.
Undebatable.